There's a lot of stuff about the Philippines on YouTube. There's a lot of junk, a lot of bottom feeders doing things on the internet and YouTube. But what I recognized is that there's a high shelf and there's a low shelf. And what you're dealing with in this blog is someone that's on the more upper high shelf compared to some of the guys that figure that they know what they're doing. This guy is serious, straightforward, and honest about what he sees, and I really, really appreciate his blog.
I'm here with James, and James, you just stopped me. Why did you stop me, James?
I just wanted to let you know that you've got the best, most informative, most level-headed blog about the Philippines on all of YouTube. And it's a pleasure to meet you in person. I learned a lot from your YouTube blogs, and I'm very glad to meet you.
One important thing that I learned about the Philippines in his videos is that you'll find all kinds of people in the Philippines just like you will in America or anywhere else. You'll find good people. Well, I enjoy the fact that Travis tells it like it is. I mean, what he says, he tells you from the heart. He cares about his viewers, and he cares about telling people the truth out there. And sometimes you really don't know what a person is like when you watch a YouTube video or watch someone on TV. Since I've met Travis and Imbival in person, I can tell you that, you know, this guy right here is the real deal, and what he says, he believes.
Today, we're going to be giving a speech about tourism.
We got Travis for the conference because Travis is an expert on Philippine tourism.
We're at the University of Santo Tomas, and if you don't know what UST is, it's one of the most prestigious universities in the entire Philippines. Oh, thank you for having me.
Hi! He's an actor, director, producer, public speaker. He is none other than the sweetheart of the Philippines, Mr. Travis Kraft.
Masaya talagang nandito ako. Well, you guys wanted someone to come and talk to you about tourism. Well, you're in luck because you got the right guy. Because not only do I have a proven record of inspiring many people to come visit the Philippines through my videos, but there's something about me that's a little bit different. Does anyone know what that could be about me that's maybe a little bit different? Yes, I'm an American, and because of that, I'm different from you, and that gives me a unique perspective when it comes to tourism, because I know how outsiders think and what they would be into. We'll get into the specifics of that later, but first, I know many of you know who I am, but I can't presume that all of you know me or that you know my background, so I'd like to fill you in on my story and how I came from over there to back here. I went to college actually on an athletic scholarship. I was a wrestler. Not like the fake wrestling that you see on TV, but more like what you see in the Olympics. And because I was a great athlete, I got a college scholarship. And my whole life, since age 13, I wanted to be an actor. So when I got into college, the plan was to major in theater, learn those acting skills, and then move out to LA. But when I took my first theater class, it was a lot different than what I expected. And I quickly realized the theater wasn't for me. So thankfully, I discovered the film department because I realized, you know what, I'm not into plays, I like movies, I like filmmaking. So I transferred to the film department, graduated with my film degree, moved to Los Angeles. But I've been visiting the Philippines starting in the early 2000s, and before I first came to the Philippines, keep in mind, this was the early 2000s. The internet wasn't like it is today. There wasn't Facebook, there was no real social media at that time. There wasn't even very much information on the internet about the Philippines. So before I made my first trip, I went on the internet and I tried to do some research about what's the Philippines like, what's there. I could find hardly anything about the Philippines on the internet at that time. I found a picture of Starbucks at Greenbelt, and that's about the only visual representation of the Philippines I could see online. Sure, I went to the libraries and I checked out books, but those are old, outdated information, a lot of it not really relevant to an actual tourist. And the reason I was visiting Asia anyways actually also ties into film. I'd grown up watching a lot of Hong Kong movies, so that got me really interested in Asia, but I'd never heard of the Philippines. When I heard of the Philippines, I thought it was something from the Bible, because you know, you go to church and they say Philippians, and you think as an American not knowing much, as silly as it sounds I'm sure to you, Philippians, that must be the people that live in the Philippines. So that's about all I knew. Wrong information, couldn't even find anything current or relevant on the internet. So I took my first trip over in the early 2000s to the Philippines, and it blew me away. Just how friendly the culture is here, how warm and welcoming people were. I took a tour around Asia. I went to 5 or 6 different countries. The first one I went to was the Philippines, and that kind of spoiled things for me because the other countries in Asia, as nice and lovely as those were, it wasn't the same thing. I always tell people, if you want to see ancient temples and exotic cultures, things like that, go to some other country, but if your goal on your trip is to make friends, meet people, and have fun, you gotta go to the Philippines. So after that first trip, I was just blown away. I went back to America. I was living in LA, working, but I couldn't get the Philippines off my mind. So I had a career in America. I had a very successful modeling career, but I would keep coming back to the Philippines any chance I would get because I loved it that much. I just couldn't get it out of my head. And when I'd come here, I would also work. I would do modeling jobs here. I would do television work. And in 2006, I was here. I had a meeting with one of the networks, and I saw the posters outside the lady's office at one of the heads of the network, and I saw they had a cooking show. And I thought, well, geez, they could have me on that. That'd be a fun guesting. And in the meeting, I brought it up to her, and I said, hey, I see you have a cooking show. I took cooking classes in high school. You should have me on. I think she thought it was a joke because it never happened. Well, fast forward to 2007. I got this urge in me to buy my own camera equipment because I wasn't really getting some of the acting roles that I want, so I wanted to kind of start doing my own stuff, even if it was only for fun. When I got this camera, I got a microphone, just cheap, basic equipment that I went out and spent money on. And for one of the first videos where I was still kind of just testing out the equipment, I thought, what should I do? And I thought, well, gee, they never had me on that cooking show in the Philippines. And I thought, well, I should do my own little cooking video. And I did that, and I think we can roll that now.
Hayan, handa na ang adobong manok. Kainan na.
There'll be times where I'll be walking down the street and people yell at me, hey, adobo manok! Thankfully, since then, though, I've also produced a lot of other content that people have come to know and come to enjoy. My most popular video on YouTube has 150 million views, which is insane when you keep in mind that the #1 highest rated TV program in the United States for the year is the Super Bowl, and last year I think that had 114 million views on TV, and that's the highest rated television event of the year in America every year, and mine did way more than that. That blows my mind, but now keep in mind that every video I do has that kind of success, and that's okay because sometimes when you produce things, you have different goals. Some things you make because you want to reach a targeted, focused group of people with a certain message that you feel would help them. Other times you do something and you do hope that it attracts some mainstream success. But in 2012, I decided to move to the Philippines more permanently, not necessarily for the rest of my life, but I figured I would move to the Philippines for at least a year, and then after the year, I'll see how it goes. And the reason I wanted to do that was because even though I was making these videos in the United States, some of them very successful, my most popular 3 or 4 videos have all been made in the United States actually, but even though I had that success, I knew the Philippines would provide me with a lot of material that would be really interesting to make documentaries of. And this is not something that I was planning on doing for money. This is something I actually saved up for 2 years, from 2010 to 2012. When I got back in 2010, I thought, okay, I'm going to save up money for 2 years, move out there, and so I invested my own money in this. I came out here and I was promoting tourism in the Philippines, not because I was getting paid for it. I was actually spending my own money doing it. Whether that was a smart thing to do or not, I don't know, but I was really just following my passion. I just had it in my heart. I decided even if I have to spend my own money, I'm going to do this and see what happens. So I came out to the Philippines and I started producing all these short, fun videos. They're around 2 to 6 minutes long, little documentaries, and these were like kind of the typical travel type features that you would see, where we go to a particular neighborhood, for example, Binondo, and we'd show what's fun and interesting to do in that neighborhood. Or we'd go to Quezon City, or we'd go into a province, or we'd do a documentary, say a short documentary about cockfighting and what that means to the culture of these people, with the goal of just showing people something different that they wouldn't normally see. That's been a theme of my videos since the beginning. I've always wanted to show people, even if it's just a corner of a city that they live in, that they've never seen, something unique. And what happened is I started getting all this great feedback from people, much of it outside the Philippines actually, and all these guys started emailing me and they say, you know what, Travis, I watch your videos and I like your videos so much, and because of that, I decided to buy plane tickets and visit the Philippines. And it's like, wow, I never expected that. I really just wanted to show people something that they wouldn't normally see, expose people to a different culture. But I didn't think people are actually going to spend thousands of dollars of their own money, buy tickets and come over from Europe or the United States or Canada. I didn't think that it would have that kind of influence. But with that, I had an issue because my conscience started to weigh on me. I designed these videos just to be really lighthearted and fun, but then I realized, well, now because of me, people are actually coming and visiting the Philippines, but with that comes a lot of responsibility. My videos are not properly preparing these guys, and they don't realize that this is not like the country where they're coming from. They're going to need some information. They're going to need to be educated on certain things, because if they come over and they're not prepared, if they think only one thing, if they think it's all going to be sunshine and roses, a lot of people are going to end up getting hurt. And when that happens, it's going to hurt tourism in the Philippines. Because what's going to happen is they're going to come over, they're going to get taken advantage of in some way, or something bad is going to happen to them, and when these guys go back to their country, they're going to tell everyone, oh yeah, I went to the Philippines and I've seen a lot of bad people there, this bad thing happened to me, or worse yet, they're going to go on the internet and they're going to spread this around on the internet. And the number one question out of emails that I was getting from guys was, Travis, is the Philippines safe? Or Travis, how do I stay safe in the Philippines? So because of that, I altered my strategy a little bit. Instead of only focusing on the positive, which is kind of hard because I'm normally a very positive and cheery guy, but I realized there's nothing more positive than arming people with information to keep them safe, because you can have two kinds of trips if you visit the Philippines. You can come here and have fun and have a wild and reckless time, and maybe you're okay, maybe something bad happens to you, you're taking your chances, but there's no reason to do that, because you can come over and have a great time, have the time of your life, and also be safe. It just takes an ounce of prevention, and that can keep you from experiencing a world of problems. But all of that, for the most part, is very easily preventable. The first thing is just knowing that some of this exists. And also, you gotta be realistic with people, because one thing I've learned too, and I know a lot of you guys are going into tourism, and I would say don't only necessarily, especially if you're trying to promote a country like this to someone outside that's not familiar with it, don't be overly concerned with, oh, does this make us look bad? Because you want to paint people a realistic version, because otherwise people are going to get here and they're going to feel lied to or something, or they're, worse yet, like I was talking about, they're not going to be prepared for certain safety issues. Now, of course, if you're doing a still photograph for a billboard, or you're doing a 30-second TV spot, of course only show the positive or the highlights in that. But if you're doing things that are a little bit like now, YouTube videos, web content. It's okay to be honest about certain things. And these people outside the United States, you would be surprised. They're really going to appreciate it, and they're going to trust you a lot more instead of only just showing them a pretty picture or only showing them the highlights. Give them a broader sense, and it's amazing the response that you'll get from these guys. I would like to bring up someone very special. Well, she's special to me for certain reasons, but the reason she should be special to you is, first of all, she's a Tomasian. But other than that, her experience with tourism goes way back. She's worked for ABS-CBN for a long time. But more recently, for the past few years, she's been doing tours. Tours for people that live outside the United States, people from Europe, from Canada, the United States, and they come in and she organizes their tours and gives them the experience of their life here in the Philippines by showing them all the wonderful things that these 7,100 islands have to offer. So please welcome Mrs. Kraft.
Thank you, my beloved Travis Kraft. There you go. I'm so happy to see all of you guys. I love it.
Since so many of you guys are looking to work in tourism, this is a tip for you. It's not just about how many people you reach. What's more important is that you reach the right people. You want to reach that targeted, focused group that would actually be interested and have the means. They would have the interest because, first of all, you can't make someone do something they don't already do. All you can do is get people to do things that they would already want to do. And they also have to have the means, meaning they have to have the money and they have to have the available vacation or leisure time. I mean, you can reach every wino in the streets of New Delhi, but that doesn't matter. Something else that I'd like to be upfront with, and this is something that, since I know so many of you guys want to do this, this will really help you out. We don't only get love messages, we get plenty of hate messages, we even get death threats, and a lot of these actually come from Filipinos because one thing I know about Filipino people are Filipino people are very prideful people, amongst the most prideful in the world, and even they'll misinterpret things, and sometimes they don't always understand that you're doing things for the greater good, and it's with love. So if you show something dirty, you show a dirty street, they'll get angry at you. How dare you show this to people? Or even just silly things like if you do a review of a hotel and you mention what you liked and things that you didn't like, they'll just focus on the things you didn't like and they'll be, how dare you, this is not just an insult to this hotel, but it's insulting the entire country. So a lot of them go kind of nuts and we get a lot of those kinds of crazy statements. But you got to keep in mind when you do these things that you can't just expect to be loved. Not everyone's going to love you, and that's okay. You can't just worry about, oh, is someone going to hate this? Because what happens when you do that is, when you try to appeal to everyone, you're going to end up appealing to no one. And what's going to happen is, you will be committing the biggest sin in movie making there is. Does anyone know what the biggest movie making sin is? The biggest sin is being boring. Everything else can be forgiven. Bad production quality can be forgiven. Certain things, other things can be forgiven that are lacking. But if you are boring, there's no point.
Travis is not a Filipino, he's American, and that is actually an edge. That's a big advantage. As American, the viewers can easily relate to him because he could see the interesting things that tourists outside the Philippines would find interesting. Kasi it's coming from his perspective. At the same time, he already has got this very deep understanding of the culture of the Philippines and the people. Travis?
What you were talking about understanding an outside perspective, here's another example of that. One of the places that you hear as one of the best tourist destinations in all the Philippines is Boracay. So when I'm asked about Boracay, I make sure to take into account who's actually asking it. If it's an older guy or someone married going with a family, I say, no, that's not for you, that's not what you're looking for. You're actually looking for something more like Palawan. But if you're a young person that's into the party scene, well, then that's probably for you. You probably have a good time there. So you can't just make a blanket statement and tell everyone, oh, Boracay is the most beautiful place, this is our best tourist destination. Because for a lot of people, they would actually really not like it, depending on the type of person they are. Something else would be more appropriate for them.
Show the good stuff, but don't be afraid to show the flaws. I don't mean that we have to show negative things about the Philippines, but we show the very cute, nice places around, and we also show a part na maraming basura. But on that particular video footage, our intention was not to make Manila look bad, but it's more about having this care and concern about keeping our own place clean.
Speaking about showing slums, I know a lot of Filipino people, they don't like that and they think you're making the country look bad to outsiders. But what they don't understand is that perspective of other people. One of the things that my dad said when he came here, he said, like, you know, there's a lot of slums here, but they're actually pretty interesting looking. They're pretty unique looking. We don't have something like that in the United States. I've never seen anything like that. So a lot of local Filipino people, they don't understand that perspective of how it's kind of an adventure. One of the things that we do on our tours, we try to always take people for a short visit to Quiapo, because if you're in Metro Manila, Quiapo is one of the most interesting places. It might not be one of the most glamorous places or the nice places, but when it comes to that interesting factor, it's off the charts.
What are the similarities and differences that you've experienced while you were filming here in Metro Manila and in the provinces that you visited?
One thing that's similar is both Metro Manila and the provinces are both extremely friendly places. But what's different is really the things that you can do. Metro Manila is going to give tourists the best options for a wide variety of experiences, unless of course they want to do something like go to a beach. Because when a lot of people think of the Philippines, they think of beaches, and then you have to let them know, well, that's not going to be an option in Metro Manila, but most other things will be.
In addition to that, I think between Manila and the provinces, one thing that a Westerner visiting the Philippines might look for that's limited in the province is the variety of food or cuisine available. At least in Manila, mas maraming options.
Another thing in the provinces, depending, a lot of people that visit the Philippines, of course, are older people. Some of these people have health concerns, so something to warn them about is, depending where you go, you might not have access to a good hospital nearby, or some people are, if they're handicapped, you're not going to have a lot of wheelchair ramps in the provinces.